What if I told you that the person standing right next to you, looking at the exact same sunset, is seeing something completely different from what you're seeing? And what if this simple truth holds the key to transforming every relationship in your life? Hello, dear listeners, and welcome to another episode of our Life Philosophy series. I'm absolutely delighted to have you here today as we embark on a journey that will fundamentally change how you see the world, quite literally. Before we dive into today's transformative discussion, I'd love to invite you to become part of our growing community. If this is your first time listening, please hit that subscribe button right now. And if today's message resonates with you, please share this episode with someone who might need to hear it. Your support helps us reach more souls seeking wisdom and understanding. Today, we are exploring one of the most profound truths about human existence, the incredible diversity of perception, and how embracing this truth can revolutionize your relationships, your empathy, and your entire approach to life.
Part 1. The invisible reality of individual perception. Let's begin with a moment of reflection. Picture yourself standing in an art gallery, shoulder to shoulder with a stranger, both of you gazing at the same painting. You might assume you're having identical experiences, but nothing could be further from the truth. Every pair of eyes that has ever looked upon this world carries within them an invisible museum, a vast collection of memories, experiences, traumas, joys, and beliefs accumulated over years or decades of living. This internal museum acts like a lens, bending and filtering every ray of light, every piece of information, every moment of experience in ways that are utterly unique to each individual. When you look at that painting, your mind doesn't just process colors and shapes. It draws upon your childhood memories of your grandmother's kitchen, the art class where you first learned about color theory, the heartbreak you experienced last spring, the book you read about the artist's troubled life, and countless other experiences that have shaped who you are today. The person beside you, they're seeing the painting through an entirely different lens, one shaped by their own unique journey, their cultural background, their personal struggles and triumphs, their fears and dreams. Their grandmother had different wallpaper. They never took that art class. Their heartbreak happened in autumn, not spring. This is not merely an interesting psychological phenomenon. It's one of the most fundamental truths about human existence. We live in a world where billions of people are experiencing billions of different realities, all unfolding simultaneously, all equally valid, all worthy of understanding and respect. Think about the implications of this truth. How many arguments could be avoided if we truly understood that the other person isn't being difficult or stubborn? They're simply seeing through a different lens. How many relationships could be healed if we approached disagreements with curiosity rather than judgment? The ancient Greek philosopher Epictetus taught us that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. But perhaps we need to go even deeper. We have 2 ears and 2 eyes so that we can perceive not just what others say, but how they see.
Part 2. From recognition to wisdom, the great shift. Recognizing that everyone sees differently is just the first step. The real transformation begins when we shift from mere recognition to profound wisdom. When we understand that this diversity of perspective is not humanity's weakness, but its greatest strength. In our modern world, we're often taught to seek consensus, to find common ground, to align perspectives. While these goals have their place, they can sometimes blind us to a deeper truth, that disagreement and different viewpoints are not problems to be solved, but gifts to be unwrapped. Consider the metaphor of a diamond. A single facet of a diamond, no matter how perfectly cut,
cannot capture the stone's full brilliance. It's only when light hits multiple facets, each reflecting and refracting in its own unique way, that we witness the diamond's true magnificence. Similarly, complex truths about life, love, purpose, and meaning can only be fully appreciated when illuminated by multiple perspectives. This shift in thinking requires us to develop what I call perspective humility, the recognition that our own viewpoint, no matter how carefully considered or deeply felt, is just one facet of a much larger truth. This doesn't mean our perspective is wrong or unimportant. Rather, it means our perspective is incomplete without the perspectives of others. When we embrace perspective humility, something beautiful happens. We stop approaching conversations as battles to be won and start approaching them as mysteries to be explored. We stop defending our viewpoints and start sharing them as gifts. We stop trying to convince and start trying to understand. This transformation isn't just philosophical, it's profoundly practical. In our families, it means approaching disagreements with our children, partners, and parents as opportunities to glimpse the world through their eyes. In our workplaces, it means recognizing that the colleague who challenges our ideas isn't an enemy, but a collaborator, helping us see blind spots we never knew existed. The wisdom of different perspectives extends beyond individual relationships to our broader understanding of life itself. Every culture, every generation, every economic background, every life experience adds essential colors to the grand painting of human understanding. When we isolate ourselves within echo chambers of similar thinking, we rob ourselves of the full spectrum of wisdom that humanity has to offer.
Part 3. The Empathy Revolution, from Judgment to Understanding. Now we arrive at the heart of our journey, the transformation from judgment to empathy, from resistance to respect. This is where the theoretical becomes intensely personal and practical. Empathy is often misunderstood as simply feeling sorry for someone or being nice. But true empathy, the kind that transforms lives and relationships, is far more profound. It's the ability to temporarily set aside your own lens and genuinely attempt to see through someone else's. When your teenager slams the door and declares that you just don't understand, they're not being dramatic, they're expressing a fundamental truth. You don't understand, at least not fully, because you're seeing their situation through the lens of your adult experiences, your parental concerns, your knowledge of how the world works. Meanwhile, they're seeing their situation through the lens of adolescent intensity, peer pressure, hormonal changes, and the very real struggles of forming their identity. The empathy revolution begins when we stop dismissing their perspective as invalid and start getting curious about what their world looks like from the inside. This doesn't mean we have to agree with every decision they make or abandon our parental responsibilities. It means we approach them with the recognition that their reality is as real to them as ours is to us. This principle applies to every challenging relationship in your life. The coworker who seems perpetually negative might be seeing workplace dynamics through the lens of past betrayals or economic insecurity. The friend who always needs to be right might be seeing conversations through the lens of childhood experiences where being wrong meant being unsafe. The family member with radically different political views might be seeing current events through the lens of personal experiences that you've never had and may never fully understand. Judgment is easy. It requires no effort, no vulnerability, no growth. Judgment allows us to stay comfortably within our own perspective while dismissing others as wrong, misguided, or foolish. But judgment also keeps us isolated, defensive, and ultimately limited in our understanding of the world's complexity. Understanding, on the other hand, is challenging. It requires us to stretch beyond our comfort zones, to ask questions instead of making statements, to stay curious even when we feel certain. But understanding also connects us, enriches us, and expands our capacity for wisdom and love. The most beautiful relationships are not those where people see everything the same way, but those where people honor and celebrate how differently they see things.
These relationships become laboratories for growth, mirrors for self-reflection, and bridges between different worlds of experience.
Part 4. Creating Harmony Through Difference, the Masterpiece of Humanity. As we reach the culmination of our exploration, let's envision what the world could look like if we all embrace the profound truth we've been discussing. Imagine a world where differences in perspective are not sources of conflict, but sources of enrichment, where conversations don't end in frustration, but in mutual understanding, where relationships don't break down over disagreements, but grow stronger through them. This is not a utopian fantasy, it's an achievable reality that begins with each of us making a simple but powerful choice to value the vision of others as much as we value our own. Think of humanity as a vast orchestra. Every individual perspective is like a unique instrument, capable of producing its own beautiful sound. A violin alone can create exquisite music, but it cannot replicate the full, rich complexity of a symphony. It's only when the violin joins with the cello, the trumpet, the drums, and countless other instruments, each playing their own part while listening to the whole, that we experience the full majesty of what music can be. Similarly, your perspective, shaped by your unique combination of experiences, culture, personality, and life circumstances, is like a one-of-a-kind instrument in the orchestra of humanity. It has its own irreplaceable voice, its own essential contribution to make. But it reaches its full potential only when it harmonizes with the perspectives of others. This metaphor reveals something crucial. Harmony doesn't mean playing the same note. In fact, when all instruments play the same note, we don't get music, we get noise. True harmony emerges when different notes are played simultaneously, creating something more beautiful and complex than any single note could achieve alone. The same is true for human relationships and society at large. The goal is not to eliminate differences in perspective, but to orchestrate them in ways that create beauty, understanding, and mutual enrichment. This requires what musicians call listening while playing, maintaining your own authentic voice while staying attuned to the voices around you. In practical terms, this means approaching every interaction with what I call generous curiosity. Instead of listening to respond, we listen to understand. Instead of looking for flaws in other perspectives, we look for insights. Instead of trying to prove we're right, we try to discover new dimensions of truth. When we live this way, something magical happens. Our relationships deepen, our understanding expands, our capacity for compassion grows. We become more fully human, not in spite of our differences, but because of them. The world doesn't need us to see everything the same way. What it needs is for us to see the value in how differently we all see. Every perspective adds another brushstroke to the magnificent, ever-evolving masterpiece of our shared human story. Your brushstroke matters. The brushstrokes of those around you matter equally. As we move forward in our lives, let's remember that every person we encounter is an artist holding a brush, adding their unique colors to this grand canvas. Some brushstrokes will complement ours beautifully. Others might seem to clash or conflict. But step back far enough and you'll see that every stroke, including the ones that initially seemed wrong or out of place, contributes to the overall beauty and complexity of the human experience. Conclusion. Dear listeners, as we come to the end of today's journey together, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude for your time, your attention, and your open hearts. The fact that you stayed with me through this exploration tells me that you're someone who values growth, understanding, and the deep connections that make life truly meaningful. The wisdom we've shared today is not meant to remain theoretical. I encourage you to take it out into your world and put it into practice. The next time you find yourself in disagreement with someone, pause and ask yourself, what might this look like through their eyes? The next time you feel frustrated by someone's different perspective, remember that their view might be the very piece of the puzzle you need to see the bigger picture. Start small. Practice perspective taking with a family member, a friend, or even a stranger you encounter in your daily life.
Notice how this simple shift changes not only your understanding of them, but your understanding of yourself and the situation you're both navigating. If today's message has touched your heart or opened your mind in any way, I invite you to share this episode with someone in your life who might benefit from hearing it. Perhaps someone with whom you had challenging conversations, or someone who seems to see the world very differently from you. Sharing these ideas is one of the most generous gifts you can offer to both them and to our broader human community. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you'll be the first to know when our next episode goes live. Your subscription and engagement help us reach more people who are seeking wisdom, understanding, and deeper connections in their lives. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Share with us a time when you were able to see a situation differently by understanding someone else's perspective. Or tell us about a relationship that was transformed when you learned to honor how differently you and another person see the world. Your stories inspire not only me, but also fellow listeners who are on their own journeys toward greater empathy and understanding. Remember, every pair of eyes that will ever see this world holds a unique and irreplaceable vision, yours included. Honor your own perspective, but never forget to honor the perspectives of others as well. In doing so, you become not just a viewer of life's masterpiece, but an active participant in creating it. Until we meet again in our next episode, may you see the world with wonder, approach others with curiosity, and remember that in the vast orchestra of humanity, your voice matters, and so does every other voice around you. Thank you for listening, thank you for growing, and thank you for being part of this beautiful community of learners and seekers. Keep exploring, keep growing, and keep adding your unique brushstrokes to the masterpiece of our shared human story.